bit to go through, and I'm going to ask for your patience because very last minute, our vet partners person who's doing the next session has dropped out. So we're going to look through it together, okay? So, agenda today. This morning I'm going to talk about Ashlands, where we are now and some key performance bits, and then we're going to hand over to me, where I'm going to do a presentation about sort of talking a bit about where the money goes that comes into the practice, how that's broken down, and talk a bit more about value and things. Okay, and then in the afternoon we're going to break off into varying different teams. Reception, admin, and the anchors, you're in here, and you're going to be with Amy for the day. The RVMs, you're downstairs in the big room with Sam and Steph, and then the vets, you're just down the hall for your meeting later on, and I think we'll be good spoon after that. Time goes well. Then we've also got lunch somewhere in the middle there as well. So, how has the practice performed? We're working off data between July last year and now, and this is generally how the practice has performed in that time. So, pet health plans, we've seen a 1.4% growth compared to last year. That's slowed down quite a bit. Now, part of that is due to the pet health plan changing in December. I don't know who remembers that for on, or Judith probably does. We had quite a change with the pet health plan changing in price, but the company that runs it sort of messed up the communication a little bit, and a lot of clients got quite upset. So we saw quite a spike in clients leaving us. We average about 40 to 50 clients leave us every month, and we average about 70 to 90 that join us every month. But that month was pretty rough. We saw nearly over 100 leave, which was a bit brutal. Does anyone want to take a guess what percentage of our clients are on the health club? 42. Any other guesses? 60.
62.
Gosh.
88.
70.
Well, you're really punching high. You're saying 9.2%, okay, which is one of the highest across vet partners. We've got quite a high threshold, not 70% high, but high. So well done, Amy, you were the nearest. Yeah, it's quite high for our health plans, pretty good. Active clients, so currently, if a client sees us within a 12-month period and come in the building and take a service, they're classed as an active client. That goes for the same pets as well. We have approximately 6,860 clients at the minute across all three sites. How many pets do you think that is?
How many did you say, sorry?
6,859 clients. How many pets?
12,000.
8,990.
Any other guesses?
18,000.
18,000.
9,000.
It's the whole
9,240 pets. Net Promoter Score. Does anyone know what Net Promoter Score is? No. So, we haven't had this for the last 9 months, but last year and before, the clients used to get a text message after their appointment asking them to sort of rate us, basically. And then that would come through as a score. Now that's as a percentage, so we're aiming for anywhere up to 100%, really, as close to 100 as possible. And previously, sort of last year and before, we were always bobbing along around 79%. Vet partners tell us that 80% and upwards is a really well-liked practice by our client base and is performing quite well. The Net Promoter Score has only just turned on in this last month, and that's what it came through at in June at 84.9%. So anyone that leaves quite a good score on their review, it pulls that up. Anyone that gives a mid score, it has no impact, and anybody that has a moan or scores intentionally low, it really pulls it down quite high. In fact, it's pulled it down significantly. We've had a little flurry of about 3 or 4, was it, in this last couple of weeks, and it's pulled that down to about 59%, which it can change very quickly. It's only another 3 clients putting good, and it'll flop about quite a bit. We're going to keep a watch on this over the next year and see what it does. We're not really going to know how the practice is perceived until we've got more information on that, but that's our Net Promoter Score at the moment. We do have Google reviews, which we actually, personally, I put more value in. I don't know about you, but our Google reviews are much more important, so obviously we want to aim for those 5-star reviews. The more reviews the practices have, the higher they come up on Google rankings when clients search for practices in the area. So if we can get our Google reviews up to sort of 180, 200, 250 reviews, that really pulls them up quite high in the rankings. Now, the practices average between about 70 and 90 reviews at the minute. So we've got these review cards, the little business cards. I'd really like to see those get handed out and encourage those reviews. We are going to look at some of our Google reviews a little bit later on in the morning. Insured pets. So, what percent of our pet base is insured? How many pets as a percent? 70. Can I manage your expectations?
29.
22. 50.
32% of our clients, pets. Matt, do you want to know there?
Oh, hang on. Let me put my thing down. No, actually.
There you go. Yeah, 32% of our pets are insured. That's high end of average. It's about the national average of pets insured. We're sort of at the top end of that. It's fairly good. It's good considering as a practice we don't really push talking about insurance, and that might add to why the numbers have sort of stagnated a little bit. I think it's something we should be looking at more, particularly for our new pets. We should be looking at talking about insurance. We've got that 4 weeks free that we can offer with Pet Plan. I would really encourage that we do that more. We have had some cases recently where that 4 weeks free has been the difference in that pet being treated and not treated. Can't think of specific examples that you mentioned.
Yeah,
We also have a fractional scheme which was ours. Sorry? No, that wasn't. So that wasn't insured. So it is sometimes, they couldn't really afford referral or anything, but I don't know about risk getting a full week free. It's just now we're going to introduce drop downs on some of our services, so we've got it already on first vaccines, so the vets will drop down and you can give 4 weeks free, the nurses can give it their second vaccines as well, and you can give us their easy one. You just shouldn't ensure going off the whole of their life on 4 weeks free.
Yeah. So we're going to look at ways we can sort of help make this a smooth process signing clients up, because it is a little bit of a fact, but we'll want to make it as smooth as possible, so we're doing it a bit more consistently. Debt. So we look at our debt quite a lot, split down into 30-day debt, 60-day debt, 90-day debt. Overall, our debt's increased by 29%. There's 2 reasons for this. One is that over the last year, we've really pushed for the estimates happening more for animals coming in, and that's been happening really consistently. But second of all, we've got the admin team that have been working really hard on sorting out the debt and actually sort of distributing what the debt looks like, because the data was a bit iffy on who was insured and who wasn't insured, so it was looking a bit skewed. So the 29% decrease is largely down to sort of Judith, Kathy, Yvonne and Jane and the team. So I do want to just give them a little round of applause. Our debt currently stands at £186,000. That's not including any, it's not including, no, it is including insurance, sorry, and that's just our 30-day debt. So that's debt that's not been paid in a 30-day period. There's a percentage sum of that that's insurance debt. Does anybody have an idea what that might be? 186,000, a certain amount is just insurance debt, which basically means we wait for the insurance company to pay.
100,000, but
What
Manage your expectations. Nothing is 75%.
50%.
50.
30. Very high.
£186,000. 47.5% of that is just insurance, and that is waiting for the insurance companies to pay. So it's quite a big sum. Who got the nearest then?
I've got 45.
45. All right, Jamie. Watch out, Steph. We've got the spend per client. This is in a year. The average spend per client, £429. That's changed a little bit from last year, not significantly. You could probably argue that that change is pretty much what the price increase was that we last did. It tells us that the clients are pretty much getting the same service but paying a little bit more for it. You agree with that? Pretty much there with that. Can't do much about that, but we can look at our services and adding value to them. So adding value is something we're going to look at quite a bit today. And this is small things, a lot of it is consulting skills that we can really look at when it comes to adding value. So these are things like introducing yourself to the client, perhaps asking how they're both doing, the client and the pet. It can be simple as just referring to the pet by their name. Sometimes even that passes people by. Offering to carry the basket into the consult room, picking the dog up for them, or at least going, shall we examine such and such on the floor? Little things like that add value to the consult. We'll go into it a bit more in a bit later on. Practice data now. Since January, how many vet consults do you think we've done across all three sites? So January to point now.
10,000.
10,000.
More than
Quite a lot, Helen. Think how many consults you do a day?
I don't know. How many days is that?
6,000.
Take a guess. 4.5.
3,000.
It might feel like 10,000
Is that
consults.
including this?
All consults on your diary, all three sides, since January.
3,200.
2,670. That's consults out.
Yeah.
Give us a
Of the ones that are vet consults, 56% of them come back for a second consult, which is good because that means they're getting a repeat service and we're seeing the patients for what they need. Since January, how many dentals do you think have been across the three sites? Not 10,000.
420.
250.
How many?
250.
That's just yours. Anybody else's? 220 dentals.
Oh, the
Right. And then last year, 78% of our pets were vaccinated. What do you think that is this year?
66.
68.
58. 71.
73% of our pets.
85%.
So there's been a dip. Now that will be some of them just leaving us, and then it'll be people coming back on stuff. So we need to. It's something that we've penciled in to look at is promoting vaccinations and things like that, because it's not something we generally do, but I think it's something we need to look at. Keep it mindful in the client's eyes. So last year we set some goals in the presentation on what we want to achieve over the next 12 months. So we're going to have a look at those and talk about how we did. So growth is one thing we looked at. So we looked at increasing the size of the team because there was some feedback that the team needed more people and we were getting a bit too stretched. And we're also looking at growing skills across the team as well. Now this is a feedback thing, so you do speak up. We have grown the team. The team's grown by about 3 people, so that's progress. And the skills have definitely increased. There's lots of people doing further education, certificates, signing up for CPD, which is really good. What we want to do for this next year is build on that and actually use those skills that people come away with, because there's quite a few certificates coming to completion, and we want to see how we use those skills to benefit our patients. How do you feel about growth, team size, skill development? Astounding, brilliant. So, communication is something we've been working on as well. Now, this was a big weakness identified last year. You know, lots of information doesn't always come out in the right way, doesn't always come out in the right form, and it's something, I've asked other businesses, it's something quite wide across veterinary practice is communication, because you are all busy, the practice is busy, and there's important information to get to you don't always have time to look at. So it is something we're looking at still. On an individual basis, looking at sort of key markers that they ask us to look at, that's improved. We try and formalise those PDRs, those one-to-ones a bit more. Those that have needed extra support, I'd like to think that's been there for you. And it's the team-wide communication we're still figuring out. It's quite hard because as a team, as a whole, there are different ways people want to be communicated to. Some people exclusively want to roll a vet. Some people don't want to know the ins and outs of why a change is happening. They just want to know what am I being made to do. Some people want to know the ins and outs. You know, what has started off this change. So it's very difficult to get a big subject out there and cut it down into a concise message. So I'm always looking for feedback on this. It's really important that you do feed this back so we can shape how we communicate to you. So do please let me know. The third goal was consolidation. Last year we were pulling in a lot of resources, external tools for knowledge especially, and actually we felt the team had a lot of knowledge, and we were encouraging you to use each other more for information. That's vet to vet, vet to nurse, reception upwards, reception, you know, it's all directions for knowledge, because there's a lot of experience in this room and beyond. That's improved quite significantly. For the vets, it's been by hook or crook. I think you've almost been forced to share your information internally more, using BPS less, but I think we're seeing a benefit from that. Don't know how you feel. How does it look for you, Amanda, coming in a bit fresher to this?
Yeah, I feel like I've hardly reached out, honestly. I've used most
Oh, you know it.
Yeah, like, I mean, but when I got here, it felt like that was already the norm.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that
Yeah, 9 months before, it probably wasn't as much of the norm, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of knowledge across all the teams, and it's really good to see that being used wider, rather than relying on people externally. And then the last goal we set was preparing. So we're still reviewing protocols, turns out there's quite a lot of those, and we're getting ever nearer to the practice standards inspection for all 3 sites, so we really need to make sure everything we're doing is up to scratch and current. That's an ongoing process, and it'll go on for months still. I'm getting ready to move house, and talking about new hospital, the groundworks are complete, so they've put in the sewer works, the electric, the gas, BT are on their way to fit that, and they're now doing the foundations. So anyone that's gone past the site will see this very large looking drill that's going down into the ground and putting in. It's quite exciting. The external structure itself, so the shell, is due to be done by the end of this year, and then that will get handed over to the new building crew who will do the inside of that shell and fill it with all our rooms and cupboards and stuff. The fit out is all the internal works. Now that's going out to tender in October, so what that means is basically vet partners will go to their usual builders and say, this is what we want for building Ashlands, give us a quote, and whoever does the sort of best turnaround and best price will get that contract. It might not be the developers that are building the shell that does it. It very much depends on what we negotiate, so it has a little bit of an impact on when we're likely to move in. It's one of those, depends who gets the contractors to when we move in. Predictions though are that the fit out will start in January, and it'll take approximately 20 to 25 weeks. So we are looking at summer opening for the new hospital. That's what we're working with. So we're going to start asking for ideas on the summer opening and what you want to do. My gut feeling is an open day for the clients. Is that something Would you like to support, do?
Yeah.
Or do we not want clients walking around our shiny new building?
Got a shoe covers.
It's one of those, isn't it? And I'm also thinking, you know, before we upgrade to clients, we have a little party ourselves because this has been a long time coming. So, before we move into the new hospital, I do need to talk to you about housekeeping. Because there's quite a few habits I don't want to move to this building. And just walking around the current hospital we're in, there's a few habits I'd like to see brushed away and improved on. So these are the top offenders. So we've got areas marked as don't stuff, and there's stuff left there which is dodgy. The light really lets this one down. This is a windowsill, and sat on the windowsill is some used latex gloves, for reasons I can only guess. Syringe caps on windowsills, you know, stuff like this. We want to start moving away from those kind of habits. There's a few others, boxes, lots of unused boxes, laundry. This is all wet scrubs sort of lying around on the side, and then books lying around. So if we can get into a habit of taking a bit of pride in our building, that would be really good. Because I'd like when we move to the new place to not take those habits with us. Okay. Probably going to be looking at cleaners for the new hospital as well. I know that's a question that's been asked a few times. It'll largely be for the communal spaces, so you're looking at stairwells, corridors, offices, staff room. But we're not sure. We're going to be putting out to you guys where you think cleaners should be used. Obviously, the more we ask the cleaners to do, the more hours they need, and the more it's going to cost, the less likely we are to get cleaners. So we have to find a balance there with that. So, looking ahead at some events. We've got some events coming up over the next 9 months. These are Ashlands sponsored events, so these are pretty much paid for by the practice to budget. So if it mentions things like food and drink, it's because we're going to pay for food and drink. So the first one we've got coming up is, oh no, we're going to talk about IT now. So, talking about IT, whilst we're sat here, we're having a big IT change now. So at the minute, someone from IT has literally just taken Glusman's server, unplugged it and plugged it in his boot, and he's driving to Ilkley with it now.
We hope.
So we hope, or he's going in there. So at the minute, Husband's dark, and Ilkley will be dark very soon as well. The aim in the next day and a half is that the Ilkley server and the Skipton server are gone, and the Glusman server becomes an Ashlands server. And the Ashlands server will live at Ilkley, with Glusman and Skipton getting onto it remotely via the internet. Okay? Now, there's things in place if there's any outages, so if Ilkley has a power cut or the internet goes down or someone even touches one cable and it stops working, the Skipton and Glusman can carry on as normal. And anything they do, no one else can see, and it'll resync, similar to what happens now sometimes. You'll only need one login for all 3 sites, because I know some people have some bother with that, having different passwords at each site. It's very frustrating. So it's one login, one shared drive that we can all access for all 3 sites, and I am told it's going to be improved performance. I am told it's going to be improved performance. The server that we're all going to be working on can cope with over 300 logins all doing stuff at once. We'll be not even past 50 logins, so it should work quicker. Now, there's individual computers we are aware of that are struggling due for and I'm working to replace those bit by bit, but the majority, and I think it's about 70% of computers are less than 2 years old, and they should more than cope with this new change. Okay? So talking about events, maybe. Yes, upcoming events. So the first event is in October. We're going to do the Halloween quiz again. So Halloween's 2.0. Fancy dresses again encouraged, and there will be food and drink and forfeit games, I guess, today. So more information is coming out this week on that. In January, we've got the Winter Social again. At the minute, we've just got an outline on what that's going to look like. We had a single bingo at the beginning of this year. We're going for something just as fun. this year. And then later into next year, just a date for your calendar really, we've got the Yorkshire Three Peaks Challenge. So next year is Ashland's birthday year, we're going to be 25 years old, so we're thinking of maybe having a birthday party as such, but we want to raise some funds for charity as well. So it's come back in surveys that you'd like to see more community stuff done. Now I've always interpreted that as being at the fairs and the fetes and doing that, but equally we could be raising funds for some local charities. And I think this is what we're going to do. There's a practice walk planned for September, it's for 14, 16, something like that. And that's for anyone who's not sure about walking these three peaks. You're going to meet and we're going to just have a go at one of them. And unfortunately I can't resist, so I'm bringing maps and I'm going to do a bit of map reading too. I have a moral responsibility to not put you out in the hills and just leave you there. Sorry?
It's a very clear path.
Okay. Respectfully, I've been on the Yorkshire Peaks with grown adults before and had to call such a rescue, so respectfully. It's 25 miles. You will need to train for this, and there's been more training days building up to it. Those of you that want to be involved but don't want to walk the hills, that's fine because there's other ways to get involved as well. I'm thinking checkpoints, and I'm thinking of pubs. Checkpoints, I think there's 3. So there's ways of supporting this without actively having to be up on these hills walking, okay? Are you still running it?
Yeah, if anyone wants to run it with me.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
Now, as for who we're going to raise money for, it's not for the hospital. I'll just myth bust that one. It is for charity, but who, I don't know yet. I want you to feed back to me some ideas on who you can do it for. Yeah, that's the obvious choice, I think. Vet Partners do a fundraising match as well. So whatever we raise, they'll match it to a value. Now, if we fundraise for their chosen charity, they'll match it 100%. But depending. Say again.
What is that charity?
It's street vets. But if we choose our own, that's fine. They'll match it to a certain amount. It depends on the credentials of the charity. There's certain things they look for as to how much they'll do it for. We could do more than one charity, yeah. So come back to us about who you think we should be raising funds for. If there's a charity you want to go to you.
talking about
Our moral responsibility to put you on the hills and make sure you're safe. I think public balance is alright, yeah. What age are you talking?
Potentially we can do back and back, would that be okay?
Yeah, if you think it's down to your physical fitness. If you think you can try your kids 3 pieces, then go for it. So, feedback. I've said this before, but I will say it again. Most of the changes we make in practice are based on feedback, largely from you and what you tell your line managers and what you feed directly to me. Some of it comes from the anonymous survey box. There's some lit stuff that comes in that. Some suggestions come through that, which is pretty good. So changes sometimes start off there, and also through the surveys as well. Now, we've done a survey recently. We did the Vet Partners one, which was the Be Heard survey. We had about 45–50% of the team complete that survey, and there's quite a few opportunities through it to put your comments in. And we don't see the comments, and the surveys are certainly anonymous. But Diana, who's our business development director on our line manager as such, she'll flag up the main ones and speak to us about those. So there's areas that we think we should look at a bit further, which I'm going to share with you in a minute. And then there's things that I want to share to you that I think are really good that have come out from the surveys. So this is the information. So on the left are goals. So facilities came up quite a lot. Interpreting it as largely the Ilkley building, it really doesn't lend itself to a healthy working environment. Does it? And we know, and we do what we can with it. To get the building up to where it would be a good working environment is way beyond what we can budget to spend. And at the minute, I'm going to fix stuff as we go along until we can get to that new building, basically. Now, I am aware I've only been doing that for the last 10 years, but if you could, credit me another 9 months, I'd really appreciate that. The other one was efficiency of the day. That came up a few times. This is a difficult one. We're working off a vet rota that was originally designed for 2 vets, and it's evolved and expanded from there. I think we're in agreement with you that vet rota particularly doesn't work. All of the rotas pin on that. And I think it really needs looking at how we alter that to make the day run better. So that will involve changing the diary, it will involve reorganising appointments, surgeries, maybe even thinking outside the box on how we run our days. We're going to come back to you with more suggestions on this. We need ideas on how to make that work, because there isn't many resources out there that go, this is how you run your vets, and this is how your roles work. You've got to just figure it out. So largely, I want to know from you what's not working and why you think it's not working, and then we can expand on that. Okay. What else came up? Flexibility came up a couple of times. So your working hours and things, you've been hired for your working hours, but we do try and be flexible. You can put in flexible working requests if what you're working doesn't work. You can come to us and talk to us about that. Okay. We do try and be as flexible as we can with that. Diana didn't really have too much information on that, but she just said a couple of comments came up and said you weren't flexible with how you work with people. So if anybody wants to give me more on that, do. And then reliability of equipment came up more than I thought it would. I agree, some of the equipment is not very reliable, but I'm going to throw it back to you guys on that one. So if you pick up a piece of equipment that isn't working, chances are it's the person before it that's left it that way, all right? And it's really important you get that equipment to somebody to get it fixed and repaired. It's no good putting a sticker on saying broken and leaving it for days on end. It needs to get to where it needs to go to be repaired. I would encourage looking after equipment as much as possible. For example, these. Anybody recognise these? These are on the Humphrey ADEs, anaesthetic equipment. One of those is £66 plus that. I've replaced this one, I've replaced the blue one 11 times since January. And largely it's down to sort of not being appropriately handled or dropped. So you can imagine that adds up quite quickly. Things like otoscopes, we had all those replaced at Ilkley at the beginning of the year. They were about £3,500 each for the set. And I've sent the heads off 3 times for repairs, and it's £320 to replace one of those little otoscope heads. So a bit of due care is needed. Now, if there's stuff that's out there that's, you think, why is it hang up on the wall like this? Why is it always sat on the shelf? Just feed that back to your lead nurses, and we'll look at how we can store our equipment better. I don't want anything sat about where it can get broke easily. And then the last thing that came back was pay. This has been a big subject this year. Now Sam was meant to step in at this point, and she's taken an exit. I have literally no notes on this, it just defer to Sam. We hear you about the pay, okay. We're going to come on to it later on in the other talk that the other lady's not doing. So we will come on to it, but we understand the comments that come in, we understand the frustrations, and I'm hoping by the end of the next session there'll be a bit more insight on how that pay is calculated, how it fits in with the rest of the business and how that runs. And I'll do my best with it, it's not my presentation, okay? But these are the positives on this side. This is stuff that came up quite a lot. The team came up the most. So Diana said it was very clear that, people putting the team is the reason I'm here. The people I work with is the reason I come every day. Team work ethic, there was a strong feeling that this team works hard to perform a good service for our patients, which is brilliant. Inclusive came up. You know, it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter you know, what you do outside, you know, it's practice, accepts whoever. That doesn't mean we let in whoever, but, and communication came up. It did, you know, we know it's our weakness as a practice. We know it's a weakness for a lot of practices, but there were some comments, nice comments that came through that said, you know what, we are seeing an improvement with that, which is really nice to read. And then support and encouragement. There was a strong feeling that people do support each other on a day-to-day basis, and that's, you know, you should pat yourself on the back for that. It's you that make the work culture. You know, we can only sort of nudge and shape, but it's you that makes that work culture, so you should be applauded for that. So, feedback's really, really important. It's in, as a management team, it's in our core beliefs that we don't make changes unless feedback's coming that suggests we should. And I want to encourage that more and more. So, I'm going to keep pushing that anonymous suggestion box for those of you that, you know, don't feel like you can confidently talk face to face. But do feedback. Just email me directly, I love it. Just keep that coming. So, based on this feedback and all the stuff that we've been told, we've set a plan on where Ashlands is going next. So we're going to talk about that now. First of all, we're going to do a quick DNA test. Who knows what that is? Coriander? Any other guesses?
It's like that.
That's it. Would you like to know? There's a few green fingers in the room. It's coriander. Oh, so show of hands who doesn't like coriander.
It depends on what form.
Show hands who doesn't like coriander.
Can't hedge your bets there.
Yeah, if it's cooked, it's alright.
Does it taste like soap? Or just tastes rank?
It smells awful.
Tastes like soap. So, those of you that don't like coriander, you've actually got one letter different on chromosome 11. Just one letter. And it turns out that just changing that one letter makes coriander taste like soap. It doesn't change anything else about you, it changes coriander. Tastes like soap. And before anyone starts singling out these people as mutants, it's actually everybody else is a mutant. Okay? They've looked at the DNA of prehistoric men, and it turns out that they didn't like coriander either. Okay? And somewhere in history there's been a mutation, and that mutation over history has spread out across the human race. The evolutionary advantage of Thai takeaway food, I can only imagine that's the reason. So we now have people who like coriander and people that don't like coriander. This is going somewhere, stick with me. And those that don't like coriander really don't like it. It seems to be a deep hate. So, what has this got to do with Ashlands? It's not that we're moving into herbiology or growing stuff. It's actually because I want you to think of veterinary practice as a little bit of DNA coding. Now, generally speaking, all practices have a similar sort of layout. Okay? All veterinary practices treat animals. We all need clients to maintain as a business. We all have generally the same personnel, the same sort of equipment, but just like that gene on chromosome 11, very small changes in what makes veterinary practice can completely change what that vet practice does. So there's a few examples. So you could be a veterinary practice that exclusively deals in referrals, okay? You could be a veterinary practice that offers really, really cheap routine work, but quite pricey non-routine work. You could be a veterinary practice that really pushes a certain sector of the animal base, so exotics and things like that, or you could belong to IVC. So, These practices are all slightly different from us. There's things that just made them ever so slightly different. And it gets me thinking about us and our practice DNA. What makes up Ashlands? What makes us unique? Any ideas?
Quality of service.
Quality of service, yeah, definitely.
Approachability.
Approachability, yeah, that makes us unique.
Compassion.
Yeah, compassion.
The diversity of services.
Diversity of services, yeah, we do have quite a wide range of services. Any others?
Flexibility.
Locations is good, yeah, we're really in prime spots.
Out of hours.
Yeah, out of hours is a big one.
Flexibility.
Flexibility, yeah, we're definitely flexible for our clients. This is what I've put together. This is what I think makes us unique in our DNA coding. So we've got that tailored care for all patients. It's something we talked about quite a lot last year. Contextualised care. You know, suck it at CVS, we got there first. We said it first. So that's a big deal. And so we're tailoring our care to that patient and that client, all right? We're not a practice that says you should be doing this because this is the best treatment. We've got to work with that client to make it work. We've got our own in-house out-of-hours provision. This is the thing that comes back most from feedback from clients, is when I needed you, you were there and you were Ashlands people. So that's really quite valuable to our client base. We have got that collaborative approach. You know, I'm in quite a lot of WhatsApp groups and Teams chats for clinical teams, and there's a lot of sharing of information on getting that pet its best advice and best care, which is really good to see. We've got personal development. You know, I don't think we've turned down a single big certificate on CPD that I can think of. You know, we're really big on encouraging you to develop yourselves and your professional skills. That's really quite valuable, and it's not seen in every practice, so do bear that in mind. You know, sometimes other practices look like they're offering stuff and they're not, okay? We've also got a strong sense of team. You saw that in the feedback slide. There is a really strong sense of team here, and that's really good to see. And reviewing our processes. We don't do things because we've always done them. If someone says this isn't working, or this keeps failing, we're going to look at that and look to change it. So, talking of change, there might be some bits we should have and change. Is anyone brave enough to offer a suggestion or anything? No? Okay, here's what I think we should be doing. And this is what I've asked Sam and Nikki to set as their sort of targets for the next 12 months. So, purpose-built hospital, I need them to get that built sometime soon. That's something that's a big change in our genetic makeup, okay? We're really limited in the Ilkley practice with what we can do, okay? Particularly with what goes from the skips and can send across as well. You know, there's a limitation to that building. How many times have you seen the message, don't send any more animals, we've got no space? You know, it's stuff like that. So that's going to really change up this practice DNA. Hospital status is going to soon follow after that. So practice standards is fast approaching. We're looking for hospital status for Ilkley, and we're looking to hopefully get Gusburn and Skipton to GP status. And that's quite important. And alongside that, there's the RCVS awards with the practice standards as well. I was meant to have a list of those in front of me, and I haven't got those, but we mentioned it before, there's certain modules across the standards that you can get an excelling award in, and I think we would easily punch for a few of those. Thinking out loud on what there is. There's consulting skills is an award, so you know we have largely you just need a good protocol on how you do your consults, and there's certain boxes you have to tick for that. And out of hours service is one. Having an excelling out of hours service, I think that might be a bit further down the line, but it's certainly one to look at. Inpatient care, if anyone's got a particular interest in inpatient care, that's an award we could look at. Customer services is another one. You know, are we a practice that gives a really high level of customer service? Well, there's an award in the PSS for that. So if anyone thinks, yeah, I reckon we could get that, let me know, I'll send you the credentials and you can have a look. Have you got the list? Yeah?
There's also the Diagnostic Service Award, Emergency Critical Care Service Award, just listing out how it was. Inpatient Service Award, Inpatient Hospitals, Students and Professional Responsibility, Environmental
So they're the awards. There's other awards we're looking at, and we're actually looking at them now. Cat and dog friendly is what we're looking at. Now, we're happy to say that Skipton has been awarded its Silver Cat Friendly Award. So well done, Skipton. We're not going to announce that publicly just yet because we're looking to get Glasgow the same, and I think we're waiting for that. I think
Waiting for the things to go kennels.
Yeah, still working in progress.
No, we've ordered for.
Oh,
So I think we're just waiting for them to arrive. We ordered for ages ago, so we might just have to chase that up because that's the only thing.
I think the cat protection were out of stock of them.
Yeah,
That's
something
what
like
it
that.
is.
That's going to be too big, that was my concern.
No, I think we found another size thing. So, the idea is to get Glasgow silver as well, and then we'll look at Ilkley when the new hospital comes. I don't know if we'll go for gold. I think it'll be silver again, won't it?
I think to be gold, you pretty much have to be cat only.
Yeah, basically. On the cat friendly stuff, we are looking at some cat only clinic time in the diary. Okay. I think we're looking to do this fairly soon as well. So our client base and the pets are about sort of 65, maybe 70% dogs. We don't have a large cat client base. I think we need to look at why that is. And in the reception thing this afternoon, there's some conversations for you guys to figure out why that is. So I'm hoping you're going to come up with some answers for me. Dog friendly is something we're looking at as well with the Dogs Trust. Hello.
Sorry, so with the cats, I have a lot of clients coming back to me when I ask them why haven't you been here for your vaccines, why haven't you come sooner? And the problem would be like when I come to the vet, my cat is just too stressed. It goes back home and runs away for days. Or it's just, I think bringing the cat in the situation, especially at Ilkley, is just too stressful for both the cat and the owner.
Yeah.
So that's my
I agree. There's some stuff on the reception stream this afternoon talking about that. Ilkley's waiting room isn't brilliant for cats. It is what it is largely. So it's a big consideration on the new build, and if anyone's looked at the plans, you could probably picture how it's going to look cat friendly. Dog friendly is the other thing we're looking at with the Dogs Trust, so we'll be looking for awards for all 3 sites as well. Again, a lot of it's just changing very small things to be considerate of how dogs think and how dogs get stressed. And again, for the reception team this afternoon, we'll be talking quite a bit about that. Expanding services. So we talked earlier in the slides about all these skills that are increasing across the team. We should hopefully equate and expanding services as well, so we should be able to do more. It does largely come hand in hand with the hospital build as well, but it's something we want to look at. So if you're gaining skills and you think, well, I could be doing a clinic or a this or that, start feeding that back. And then the last thing is pet insurance advocacy. I think we need to be looking at some pet insurance champions across the team, people in key places across all 3 sites that can push and encourage the team to be talking about pet insurance with our clients. Okay. So they're my goals. I'm still open to more. So if anybody has any ideas, do share them. But any questions or comments? You're all waiting
Yeah,
for the next session.
just going back to the cat friendly thing. I've obviously got 2 cats as well. The main reason why I don't like bringing them in is because Bianca said it's because they get really stressed.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, because I know Ilkley's a bit tricky, but when you come in through the door, there's like the little side, there's a door that goes through.
Let me get your pen and paper.
You can put a little barrier, or even if it's just like a little half wall or something,
Yeah.
so that then they can go in there, they can feel like they're in a safe environment, even if it's not completely, separate. At least then it creates a screen of some description from dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's something to look at. Some of the problems with the Ilkley waiting room is it is the shape of it. It's really awkward shape. You can only put the scales in a certain place. For whatever reason, and I see this more at Ilkley than I do at the other 2 sites, is clients just seem to let their dog on a very long lead when they're coming through the front door. And they'll be straight to wherever the cats are. It is something to look at. Any other questions? Okay. That is the end of this first talk, so thank you for patiently sticking with me. We're going to break for 5 to 10 minutes now, so grab yourself a drink, a biscuit, and then we'll have a